Hey crew, I've got the key to this Mercedes-AMG CLE 53. We are going to take it for a drive, but first, let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. The CLE was a new model for 24 that was consolidating the C and E class coupes, and this AMG version enhances the visual and practical muscle. Up front, got that Panamericana grille with the vertical slats. There is functional cooling down low. Got gloss black accents with the optional AMG Night Package. There are functional air curtains at the corners, projector LED headlights with LED DRLs and turn signals. This one is painted in Manufaktur Grey Graphite Magno. It is a matte gray color that works really well with the design of this car. There is an AMG specific hood with these two raised ridges. Functional heat extractor here on that hood. At the side, there are some upgraded 20-inch, very intricate wheels with matte black on the inside and then a polished border. They're wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 5S summer tires, 265 section front, 295 at the back. Within those wheels are ventilated brakes clamped on by 4-piston front calipers. The tracks have been widened for the AMG, 2.3 inches up front and 3 inches at the back. The AMG gets these extended side sills. Those, the door mirrors, and the window trim are all blacked out with that AMG Night Package. The profile has a clean sloping roofline and some visual pump down low. The wheelbase is 0.4 inches longer for this AMG version. At the back, there's a subtle deck lid spoiler here. Get LED taillights and turn signals. Above, a black gloss diffuser with 4 blacked out oval exhaust ports. With the width and all the AMG enhancements down low, the back end of the CLE 53 looks mean. And I think overall, this car may look better than the old C63 coupe. What do you guys think? This or the C63 stylistically? Let me know in the comments, and let's check out the interior. Opening up and looking inside at this power red on black Nappa leather interior with seats that are as standard heated, optionally ventilated and massaging. I like the AMG logos embossed on the headrest, but the seat design otherwise looks a little basic. You can pay for an upgraded seat that has some more aggressive bolstering though. To get to the back, pull on this leather strap, and as the seat tilts forward, it also glides forward. Now, the axis angle is not as good here on the driver's side as it is on the passenger side, but I'm still going to make my way to the back with relative ease. And when I pull the seat back, I let it go back to my driving position at 6 feet tall, and I still have knee room here. What I don't have, though, is headroom. My head is pressed against the roof, not on the headrest back there. So for adults, at least of my height, this is not going to be the right accommodations for you. There also isn't much to keep you entertained. You've got 2 air vents, no third zone of climate, 2 USB-C ports down there. That's nice. Lots of hard plastics back here, though. That's a bit disconcerting for this amount of money. And there is leather wrapping for your stubby armrest over here to the side. I wouldn't want to spend much time back here. Before I hop into the front, let me show you the trunk, which does power open and has a respectable 15 cubic feet of space. The trunk opening itself isn't all that large though because of this high lower lip. And if you want to get those seats down for more room, you have to climb into the back, then pull on the levers, and then they do fold 40-20-40. There's a power close and lock function on the trunk lid. Looking at the driver door, we see the split of the 2 tones of leather with red contrast stitching. This is aluminum looking but plastic trim with some ambient lighting showing up here even during the day. I like this texturing around the door mirror controls and window switches, both of which being power. Hard plastics down low, not my favorite. There is a Burmester high-end 3D sound system as standard, like the knurled finish around the seat adjustments, and there are 3 positions of memory for those. Stepping over the illuminated AMG tread plate on my way in, and ducking my head just slightly. I'm underneath a large sunroof here. They call it panoramic. I just call it large. And then closing that door, it's very heavy. And as you do so, you feel the plastic creak in with your hand. It is a solid door close noise, but yeah, that doesn't exude quality like the helper arm to bring you your seat belts. Looking at the steering wheel is leather wrapped, perforated here at 9 3. Feels great with a flat bottom to it. It's also optionally heated here on this car. And there is a digital gauge cluster, high resolution, reconfigurable via this upper left of the 4 bars. They work most of the time, but because they're touch sensitive, if your hands get a little clammy at all, they stop responding so well. Below that, we've got your driving assist features, and then up right here, is for the infotainment, this 11.6-inch screen, which is also high resolution, vibrant, and easy to use with the latest MBUX software. It also has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The bottom layer of the screen always has your climate menu visible, as opposed to you having to hunt in the infotainment screen while driving, which is obviously distracting. And then below that, we've got buttons you press for your AMG performance settings, for your parking sensors / camera system, vehicle settings, and then your volume as a slider or button press and mute. Then underneath all this gloss black, which just collects dust like a magnet, we have a wireless charging pad, 2 USB-C ports, and then 2 cup holders. Inside this console, we've got 2 more USB-C ports and not a whole lot of storage. On the upper part of the dashboard, we've got soft leather with red contrast stitching. Some optional carbon fiber trim certainly enhances the AMG feel to this cabin, as do these dials on this part of the wheel with your drive modes over here to the right, and then different reconfigurable settings over here on the left-hand side. Visibility, there's a blind spot over there at the C-pillar, and the raised rear cowl means that the view straight out the back isn't the best, but there is standard blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic. So this cabin overall and the exterior look like it's making big promises about the performance of this car, but let's go see how the CLE 53 drives. All right, let's fire it up. Not much fanfare in noise or vibration from the turbo inline 6-cylinder. Hey, cabin crew, thanks for joining for this first drive in the CLE 53. Full transparency, I've actually had this car for a week, but I've also had the flu for a week. So apart from driving it to the drugstore to get medication, I haven't spent any time behind the wheel. So this is a proper first drive for me. And I'm going to begin in the comfort drive. Oh, you can hear the breaking in my voice, the lingering congestion. I'm going to start in comfort drive mode. As I lift up on the gear selector to go into reverse, that brings up a super high resolution camera system with that trajectory line set up on the right-hand side, bird's eye view off to the left, several other camera angles, including a 3D view. You can scan around the whole exterior of the car. Admire what you just purchased before you then back on up. And I'm going to begin with a turning radius test. So I'll click down into drive, crank the wheel, and pivot around in a super tight circle thanks to the rear wheel steering system that is standard on the CLE 53. Now let's listen to the turn signal sound, which is a higher pitched tapping noise. Not my favorite. And what about the world famous horn test? Oh, that's so harsh. Moving on to the powertrain. We've got an electric turbocharged 3-liter inline 6-cylinder paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. And I'm glad it's not the plug-in hybrid setup with the 4-cylinder that you have in the C63, because not only was that vehicle very heavy, but the suspension, the chassis, the powertrain, nothing seemed to communicate well. This is a much more fluid recipe. And you've got 443 horsepower and 413 pound-feet of torque normally, but there is an overboost of 30 pound-feet of torque for up to 10 seconds. That is routed to all 4 tires. via a 9-speed torque converter automatic transmission that deviates from AMG a little bit because typically their cars have a multi-clutch pack transmission. And that does mean with the torque converter that the gear changes are a little smoother, but we'll see what that does to the performance cruising around in the comfort drive mode. The torque comes in nice and strong when you want it, but you can roll on and not have it surge too much, at least when you're ambling about. And the ride compliance from the adaptive dampers and steel springs, it's a busier ride, but it absorbs the imperfections of the road well. I can modulate the brakes to smoothly come up to a stop, and then if I sat at that light for a while, I could press my foot harder on the brake pedal and it would hold the brakes for me. That was one thing I was familiar with from the drugstore because I had to sit in a drive-through line, and I was at that drive-through line for a long time, and I was thankful for the auto hold there. The seats are quite comfortable. The headroom is not that generous though. I was kind of surprised by that. I couldn't lower the seat anymore, and typically in German vehicles, Mercedes-Benz being among them, I can lower the seat a lot and have great headroom. This one is pretty darn close for me at 6 feet. As the speeds pick up, you get a little more tire noise, but I would blame the Michelins more than I would the Mercedes because it kind of doesn't matter which car I'm in. If it's on these tires, the 4S, the 5S, they do make some noise on the road. Otherwise, the cabin is well insulated. Not a lot of road noise, not a lot of wind noise. That's cool. You don't see those fire trucks very often. Then here on the highway, I'm going to listen in to the cabin volume at these speeds. And though the general noise has risen, it stays well insulated. And I wouldn't need to raise my voice much to have a conversation with fellow passengers, either up here or if I had kids, would put adults back there. The loud road surface, you notice that difference. But this does really seem to settle in at these highway speeds, and you do have the driving assistance features to help you out. Adaptive cruise control, steering assistance. I'll take my hands off just to show you how it stays in the center of the lane. It's not a hands-free system, but it does track the center of the lane perfectly, and it also has a lane change assist that when there is an opening, it'll help you change lanes. And these features go a long way to reduce the fatigue of traffic-heavy commutes especially. So far, this has felt very Mercedes-Benz, not so much AMG. But let's see what happens with a twist of the dial. First here to sport mode. Does that affect the ride quality? On this more broken section of road. And I feel more of that in through the cabin. Still not bad. And what about the throttle response? That's perked up. Nice little boost there. Okay, now let's give Sport Plus a try. See how that changes things. I heard the baffles and the exhaust open up. And there's the artificial sound. And there's the power and torque. My goodness. After an initial delay at full throttle, waiting for the boost to build, there it comes. It comes on strong. Wow. Jeez, this thing flies. All right, so it is very much a single turbo engine. You wait for that boost and then you ride that wave. Yeehaw! Now for manual mode, you get to use these large paddles that don't have a ton of travel, but they did prompt a quick shift. And lets me go all the way out to red line. The animations on here for when it's time to shift are very cool as well. You really got to stay in the meat of that power, and there isn't a large window of it. But when you're there, you are hauling. The more I am shifting these gears on my own, I am noticing the car really wants you to pull the paddle pretty far in advance of redline so as not to disrupt the acceleration. And that kind of hints to this not being as sharp, as rapid a gearbox as the multi-clutch automatic and other AMGs. But when you recalibrate your brain, you pull the paddle a little bit earlier, and you can keep it going. Now let's get some numbers on the board. I've got my race box ready to record a real-world 0 to 60 test, and even though this CLE 53 doesn't have the optional AMG Dynamics Plus package with the race mode and the drift mode, it still has launch control. Just in Sport Plus, foot on the brake, pin the throttle, build it up, let it go. Whoa. Oh. And arrive at 60 in 3.77 seconds. That is cooking. Woo! There's more than enough momentum in a straight line. And through the curves, the all-wheel drive system is highly effective of getting the power to the ground. The brakes have nice bite. Whoa. Transmission hiccup there harshly though as I got back on the throttle. The turn-in is prompt with the rear-wheel steering system, and that helps disguise, but not completely absolve, the 4,400 pounds of weight that comes out as the load transfers between curves. But ultimately, it's the all-wheel drive and these Michelins that are giving me confidence through the curves. The steering feel is good. It's just a bit uniform. Like, the resistance doesn't build up so much, just stays at that same level as you add lock. But fast? Entertaining? Oh yeah, this car has that part covered. Now, I haven't spent enough time behind the wheel to conclude for sure whether this is a better buy than the BMW M4 or the Audi RS5 or the now dying Lexus RCF. But I do have some thoughts. Before I share those with you though, let's go over the top speed, the fuel economy, and the starting price. The top speed for the CLE 53 is 155 miles per hour. The fuel economy is 20 mpg city, 27 on the highway, and 23 combined. And the starting price is $75,000. This one is tested though, is 87 grand. But I actually don't think that's a crazy ask for this look outside and in, for this ride compliance, this technology, and this power. It seems about right. There are some obvious cost-cutting pieces in here, but the real question for me would be whether I would verify it as a true AMG to rival a true M car or a true Audi RS product. And the things holding it back would be the weight and this torque converter automatic, which, as I already experienced in my short drive, had a hiccup on me. But if I drove it as a faster CLE 450 and stayed within this vehicle's wheelhouse, didn't try to push the limits too far, then everything else about it seems to substantiate that price tag. But I'm curious what you guys think. Would you have this over the M4, over the Lexus RCF, over the Audi RS5? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this first drive. I will see you again next time